Good morning and welcome to March 23rd. As I set out on my walk again, as you can tell, just had a little dusting of fresh snow. It hasn't recovered above freezing yet. It's -1 at the moment. Although there's a robin over there by the tree. Always a sign of spring. I'm just pulling on my gloves here because it is a little colder. Oh, and I forgot to put it on Do Not Disturb, so hopefully I don't get a phone call because that interrupted yesterday's. I probably won't. Just gonna go, I think, along Victoria Avenue, take you downtown today as I take my walk, just for a change. And again, if you happen to be on Facebook watching this live, if you leave me a comment, I can see that you're there. Still struggling with my knee. It's not exactly the joint that hurts. And I'm hoping over time it will toughen up. It doesn't bother me as much as when I was jogging back in the fall. So walking along Angus Crescent here, up towards, I think we'll go up Angus Street, which is 1 block off of Albert, the main drag, because it'll be less traffic. When I come back, I'll probably stop the video, not at our traditional stopping point back there at the intersection, but at Safeway, because I need to buy some buns. And don't think I can take the camera into Safeway. Well, I guess I could, but I'm pretty sure somebody would say something. So let's see. On the Kickstarter front for Shapers of Worlds Volume 2, the anthology featuring authors who were guests during the second year of my Aurora award-winning podcast, The World Shapers, which is at theworldshapers.com, just this morning eased over the 64% funded mark. That was $9,600. It's at $9,601. If you're wondering how you get a $1, there are companies that offer services to people running Kickstarters, and sometimes they will back things at a nominal $1 just so that they get updates and stuff. At least I think that's what that's about. I haven't used them. The printer I used last year actually did the fulfillment as far as sending out the print books, so I plan to use them again because they did a great job. There's actually 2 editions of last year's book. There's the Kickstarter edition, done by one printer, and then there's the commercial edition, which was done by another printer, Friesens, in Manitoba. For that one, I had a grant from Creative Saskatchewan to print 1,000 copies, and then those have been distributed, kind of piggybacking on Radiant Press, which is another publishing company here. All right, always the windiest corner because of that. Quite a chill wind this morning. -1 temperature, but the wind chill was -7. So I am wearing my hat and gloves today for sure. I'm sure getting some wind noise, but it should stop in a minute once I get past this corner. Yes, this is spring in Saskatchewan. It can be a lot snowier than this the first few days of spring. There have been years back in the 70s when we had some really snowy years. There's a year I came back from university, beginning of May, maybe, and there was still snowdrifts under the trees. So I've seen that a couple of times. And quite often there's still a lot of snow on the ground on the first day of spring on March 21st. This year, the snow came early, but it seems to have departed a little earlier than some years too, except for this little dusting, and there could still be more. What was I saying about the Kickstarter? 64% funded, right. Yeah, not much else to say. I've already gotten some stories from it. It's going to be really, really exciting. It's going to be 24 stories in all, 18 news stories, 6 reprints. Some amazing authors. They're all amazing authors. I enjoyed talking to all of them. I interviewed another fellow yesterday for an upcoming episode, and one on Friday. Yesterday was David Ebenbach, who's actually teaches creative writing in the, what's it called, Jewish Civilization Program? Something. At Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. He was very interesting to talk to. PhD in psychology, but he then focused more on writing, and now he teaches it, and also some other things. So we're walking up Angus Street. Haven't walked up here before. Some condos over here, and then the older houses on this side. The dance studio where my daughter danced from about age 5 till age 18 is over on Albert Street on this block. So we're kind of behind that. And, oh, squirrel. On this corner coming up, years ago, I was leaving there and I got hit at this intersection, fortunately in our older car. Nobody was hurt, but it totaled the car because it was an older car, Volvo S60, which was sad. That was kind of the new car I bought when we had Alice, because the car I had before that was just a little sports coupe. It had 4 seats theoretically, but nobody would want to sit in the back for very long. But we got another Volvo S60, a used one, which actually has still, it's a 2002, and it has far fewer kilometers on it than our 2015 Volvo XC60. And that was kind of cool. It was literally owned by a little old lady from a small town, and most of the kilometers on it were from people driving her into Regina for doctor's appointments and things like that. Mostly it had lived in a garage, so it was in excellent condition. Had to do some work in the last little while, as one does with older cars. But it would have been, we know from the first one, $50,000 car brand new. And we got it for $7,000, so we can put quite a bit of money into it and still kind of come out ahead. And it hasn't been that much money, it's been $2,000 or $3,000, but it seems to be in good working condition now. Again, if you're on Facebook and see this live, please leave a comment and I will see it. And I can even answer questions if I can read it. And since it's cloudy today, I probably can. I've already done most of my Kickstarter stuff today, which is good, because boy, that Tangled Stars book, I'm writing for DAW, is proceeding in fits and starts, and it needs to have more starts than fits because I'm behind. So I hope that today I can really get in a good chunk. I'm having fun with it. I keep surprising myself. The tone is quite different from most things I write. I don't know about that. I guess the World Shapers have quite a bit of humor in them, but this one, the tone is quite humorous, even though it's a big sprawling space opera. I think it's because my main character is a bit of a crook and a con man. Okay, there is no light at this intersection, so have to wait a minute to cross. Should be able to after the third car here. So this is the 13th Avenue again, with all the little shops. And I pointed before, when I walked by it a few days ago, the Artesian over there, former church, is now a performing arts space. I performed in there, and when I was on the board of directors of the late lamented Golden Apple Theatre Company, the small professional theatre company here in Regina, that was our main venue. Did some great stuff with that theatre company. Robert Urson, Andrew Lee Hillstrom were the founders and artistic directors, and there were some great shows. Mostly small, obviously. The biggest cost in putting on a professional production is paying the actors and everybody, and so small companies tend to do small shows. This is the Saskatchewan Wheat Pool. Viterra. Used to be called the Saskatchewan Wheat Pool. Headquarters over here. We're going to turn down Victoria up here and walk right down Victoria through downtown. A little off center from downtown, but downtown is only a few blocks in Regina. But there's the wind again coming around the tall building. Not tall by most city standards, but tall enough here. I don't know how many stories it is, 12 maybe. Big enough to create that wind around the corner, which I'm feeling because, again, -1 temperature in Celsius, not Fahrenheit, for those of you who cling to that outmoded way of telling temperatures. Oh, good, right into the wind. Well, it'll fade soon. Let's continue to walk this way. Walk this way. Little AC/DC for you there. Nice little cafe in here, Sprout. My niece's wedding reception was in there not that long ago. She's a lawyer in town. Has a baby girl whom we've hardly seen because of COVID. So looking forward to being able to get together with them again at some point. Now this building originally was an apartment building. And back in the boom days, early 20th century, I thought Regina would be bigger than it was. And then things happened. There was a crash before the Depression. And this is no longer the heart of downtown. But it has some lovely details on it. These little things on the corner here. Or that one. If you look up, there's some ornamentation that's kind of cool. So we're looking towards downtown here. Credit Union Central over there. Waiting for the light. There'll be a left turn signal, so. Ow! Stepping off the curb is when my knee suddenly hurts. One of those things, you don't notice it and then you do something and you notice it a lot. Alrighty, we'll just kind of walk all the way down Victoria here to Broad Street. And work our way back. Probably a somewhat shorter walk again today. Pull that down a little. pictures a little better. Again, if you're on Facebook, please leave a comment if you're seeing this live, just so I know somebody's watching. It will be archived, and I download later, not too much later, I'll download the high definition version off the phone to YouTube, and then delete the live stream, which is there right now, so that there's a HD non-buffering version. So looking over that way, you can see downtown, and that building is City Hall. I worked up there just below the top floor in a contract position as a communications officer for someone who was on adoption leave. I worked there for 6 months back in, when was that? 94, I think. 95 maybe. Somewhere I have a wine glass from the Christmas party that says it. Over here is the courthouse, and it has some pieces from the original courthouse, including Victoria and Regina. There's the courthouse. Again, City Hall. That blue flag with the infinity sign on it, if you're not familiar with it, is the Métis Nation flag. Métis are French and First Nations ancestry. It's back to fur trapping days and all that, and they became their own culture, and Louis Riel led a rebellion at one point. Which was crushed, and he was hanged about a block from here. There's a play called The Trial of Louis Riel that runs every year, and Regina has for years and years and years. I've never been in it. I've been invited to be in it, but I couldn't do it. So I've never seen it even, which is kind of a shameful thing to say. But you know, there's Knox Presbyterian, Knox Metropolitan, one of the main, it's a United Church. It's also one of the main music venues. It's a very nice auditorium. And I like the Balfour over here. This apartment building. It's condos and rental spaces. We looked at a condo in there when we were looking before we got married. We liked it a lot, but no underground parking. Over here is First Baptist, another good performance space, has a dome. Across the way there is Victoria Park, with the War Memorial at the center, leading to downtown. I went through there, I think, when I walked downtown. Oh, maybe I didn't. I just walked beside it. It was only the second time I brought the camera down here. So there's First Presbyterian, big pillars. And then the building up here is the former land titles building. And of course that was a huge thing when the settlers were coming in, homesteaders. And it's now has the Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame in it and other things. But very lovely building. Still says land titles building up there at the top. There's the entrance. But it's actually now, at least part of it, is Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame. And the Administrative Center for Sport, Culture and Recreation, apparently. Then up here on the right is the Hotel Saskatchewan, one of the grand old railway hotels that the CP built, and the CN too. This was a CP hotel, I think. Or was it a CN hotel? Anyway, so you know, the train station is just a couple of blocks away. This was the big hotel, and still we tend to call it, and many people do. They'll just say, I'll meet you at the hotel, and this is the hotel they mean. Built in the 20s, I think. And I like to write in there. Behind these windows is the lounge, but it's been closed. Well, I guess I could go in and write, but they're not serving anything until evening now. Just not a lot of a lunch crowd with so many people working from home, I guess. I hope that comes back, because one of my favorite places to work. It's now a Marriott, like it seems most hotels are. Then over there is the lovely Federal Building with its 30s kind of. Started getting it better in the picture there. I like that one a lot. The Sas Power Building here is a cool building, but it's completely hidden by scaffolding, but you can see the kind of interesting curve to it. It's a building designed by Joseph Pettit, who was that's looking downtown towards the Twin Towers they were called. There are now 3 of them, so but 2 matching. Nobody coming. And then our condo that we own is down Scar Street there. So yeah, doing a lot of work on the building right now. So not very attractive at the moment. This building over here, the Avery Tower, used to have my optometrist in it up at the very top floor, which is great because when you got a new pair of glasses, you could look out the window and realize how much sharper everything was in the distance. But they've moved now. Back in the middle. Down a little. Haven't had any comments on Facebook. If you're there, well, anyway, just so I know you're there. Blowing snow up here, so it's going to get noisy for a minute. Also a nice coffee shop there that I used to write in quite a bit at more normal times. Two of them. That was annoying. Crave there used to be the Assiniboia Club, men's social club. Not only were they noisy, but they were blowing dust along with snow, and I got some in my eye, which is always annoying when you wear contacts. One of the downtown hotels, the Ramada there. The Doubletree over there is what used to be called the Regina Inn. Nobody coming. This is Rose Street. We'll go up here and turn down Broad and work our way back. Another block up here, I'm not going that far, is our favorite sort of delis called Italian Star. It's got great stuff. We go there quite often. Okay. Over here is Sask Energy, which is our gas company. Their building. Sas Power Building. We didn't go by on this trip, it was down another street. This is Broad Street, which it is, it's broad. So, you know, truth in advertising. This pizza place here. Been in a few times and ordered from more often. It's not our first one we order from, usually, but I have on occasion. The next in is one of our nicer restaurants in this corner, the Diplomat. Can't see much from out here, but it's a nice kind of older style restaurant with, you know, leather booths, leather seating booths, lots of wood, and pictures of prime ministers on the walls. Now, the last time I walked all the way down to Winnipeg and walked back, I came along 13th, so I think I'll go down one more block and walk along 14th to start with. And then at Albert, I'll go up to 13th and then over to Safeway, where I will cut this off. Apparently there's nobody watching live on Facebook this morning. At least I haven't had a comment yet. If you're there, drop me a comment. If you're not, don't. If you're not, and yet somehow you do, then you're psychic. Here we are, across here. I don't know if there's a left turn signal here or not. I think there is, so I better wait. It's not. I think my horizon's a little better, so I'm not entirely happy with it. I set it to be straight, and then it sometimes seems to wander off anyway. And I thought it was where the phone was, but it's not the phone. It's obviously the gimbal that has to know where the horizon is in order to keep it level. So there's an app just for the gimbal, which has a whole bunch of other camera things you can do, but it won't live stream, so that's why this is going through Prism Live Studio. And yet, sometimes the horizon looks right, and sometimes I think it's off again. Maybe I'm off. Maybe my head's turned to one side. I don't know. There used to be a computer store here that I bought stuff from, but that was back in the Commodore 64 days, so it's been a while. My first home computer was a Commodore 64. I bought it. It cost $895. The floppy drive was $500 and some. The monitor was at least that. So, you know, well over $2,000 for the whole system. And that was in 1980s. So I was still living in Weyburn, so it was a lot of money. And we'll walk through the parking lot just because. This is the lab where you come for blood tests and things like that. When I bought it, the Apple II was out, and they were positioning themselves as a better computer than the Apple II, and in some ways they were. And so when I bought it, I got a little eaten apple core on a string to wear around my neck to show that I had bought a computer better than an Apple, and they were eating apples for lunch. I wonder where that went. That'd be worth something to a collector. Never really looked. Couldn't be worth much. Don't know how many of them went out. So I was a Commodore user for years until I switched to an IBM PC sometime in the 90s. 386, and then I had a 486, and then I had a Pentium. And then eventually I switched to Macs, and I am now a complete Mac user. Most of my books are written on the laptop. I've been writing a little bit on my desktop, but I've discovered I'd rather write on my laptop. And I sold an apartment building there. And there's a nice coffee shop over there, Abstractions. Again, I don't go to it very often, but in the Shards of Excalibur there's a coffee shop called The Human Being, and it's actually sort of that one, but not really. There's the front of it. Nice apartment building. So coming up on our left on the next block is Central Park, which is hilarious because we have a condo in the block just south of that. And so I can tell people, oh yeah, the writing's going really well. I mean, we own a condo off of Central Park. And as long as they don't know it's in Regina and not New York, it's very impressive. Maybe if the TV series for World Shapers happens. No. Writers, those things don't make that much money. It'd be an option for it, but I'm not even there yet. But somebody is pitching it and is quite excited about it, and she has connections that are quite impressive and a long history in the industry. So her name is Lisa Lindo. So yeah, I have some hope, but not a lot of hope, because generally when these things come along for me, they evaporate. So if it happens, I will be extremely pleased and excited, but I'm not counting any chickens just yet. So there's Central Park. That car just took the open space I was aiming for. Can't really see it from here, but our condo building's down at the far end of that on the next block. Another old apartment building here to the right, and another one coming up on the next block. Much quieter now that we're off Broad, Victoria. Not as busy. I like the little towers on top of this one. Battlements. It's not as good as a turret, but battlements are good. If you're on Facebook and you're seeing this live, drop me a comment. So far I haven't had any, so I'm assuming I'm talking to myself. That's okay. I'm a writer. It's kind of the job description. You're writing a book, you're really talking to yourself. You hope you'll be talking to somebody else at some point, but you don't know that for sure. You don't know if anybody will read it. Whoa. A nice old apartment building on that corner. If you like old brick buildings, which I do, with a bit more ornamentation than we get these days. Moose Jaw, which I should go take a walk in someday because I wrote Historic Walks of Regina and Moose Jaw, has a lot of old brick buildings because they had some major fires early on when they had wood buildings, burned everything down, and they passed a bylaw in the early 20th century, or late 19th, early 20th, I think, requiring everything to be built from brick, and then the whole boom bust thing again. So they're not a huge city. I don't know the current population. 40,000 maybe. They have all these great old brick buildings in their downtown. Famously or infamously, there's long been a legend that Al Capone used to come up to Moose Jaw when things got too hot for him, because it's at the end of the Sioux Line, which is kind of a direct route from Chicago, kind of a hub for it. And so there's a tour called Tunnels of Moose Jaw, which includes, there are some tunnels under the street. You go through, and there's quite a fanciful story there about Al being in town. And Moose Jaw was the kind of the Sin City of southern Saskatchewan. River Street. It's a very short street, but it was the hotbed of gambling and prostitution and all that stuff. And the police chief there was supposedly famously corrupt. It's all in that tour. There are other tours more historically based. I don't know what they call it, but it's about Chinese workers. Kind of hiding and working. Been worth looking up. It's Tunnels of Moose Jaw if you're curious. And if you're in Moose Jaw, you should go on it. It's quite a popular tourist attraction. I don't suppose it was open last year. Maybe this year. Things improve. We'll see. We get up to Albert Street again. I will go north on it so I can take you by the Penny University Bookstore, which is a new independent bookstore that opened just as this was all kicking in. Very nice and has lots of my books in there. Shaper's Worlds, Volume 1 is in there, and all my Shards of Excalibur books, and pretty much everything I've written or published. I think they're moving down 13th, the main store. I haven't checked on that recently. But anyway, we'll walk by on this trip. This is an interesting little Chinese restaurant. Great food, but it's basically just a living room with 2 tables in it. Kitchen in the back. Eaten there a couple of times though, and the food is really good. Very family-run business for sure. I don't want to go walk on my thought. I'm right at here. 36, 37 minutes. Won't be too far off some of my usual hour-long ones. Probably a bit shorter than an hour. House over there used to have a vegetarian restaurant in it called Heliotrope, and I think they're still growing like vegetables and so forth, and they sell them at the farmers market, I think. But the restaurant here is gone. Something else in there. Hairdresser, I think. Don't walk into the tree. It always looks like you're closer to that when you're watching on the camera than the person holding it. A little bit of snow is already melting on the grass, and it's supposed to be like 16 or something on Saturday. So, all right, we'll go up Albert instead of crossing here. Again, the building across the street there, First Presbyterian, is where we got married in 1997. We had wonderful music. My friend Robert Erson, who made a cameo appearance in this walk 2 days ago when I encountered him, and my friend Regina. His wedding present was to ask us to give him a poem, which he then set to music. And it's all written out, it's framed, it's hanging in our house. And it was sung by Diane Burrows, wonderful soprano that I performed with. And she is a voice teacher and recitalist. It was very nice. All our music was great because we knew musical people. The reception was quite something too, musically. We did not video it. We thought it will grow in the telling and people will believe us when we say Pavarotti was there. I think my favorite thing was, my dad and my brothers and I all sang a male quartet number, if I remember. But then Dad, a lot of my friends had sung in my father's chorus at Western Christian College. And we all got up and sang Just a Closer Walk with Dad during the solo, which was sort of his signature song. That was great. So here's the Penny University Bookstore and coffee shop. They are closed at the moment, temporarily, but there it is. Nice bookstore. If you're in Regina, check it out. Even if it does move, it won't be moving too far. It's just down 13th, where we're about to go. I believe is where she's headed. Okay, we're running out of time here. For anybody on Facebook to leave a comment, let me know you're there. Just say hi. Don't want to sound desperate. I'm mainly doing this for recording purposes, and it'll be up forever on YouTube. Just missed the light here. Have to wait our turn. I'll walk up this far Safeway and then I'll cut this off today. Not the most attractive intersection. The more interesting buildings are on this side. As I mentioned, Edward Tower over there is a favorite of ours for ordering food or somewhere to go to eat quickly, and it was open for in-person dining. Next to it is the Cathedral Social Hall, which has a great selection of beer. And oddly enough, I've written in there quite a few times. I think they're open. I probably could go in, but I don't see any reason to do that just yet. Especially with our numbers up in Regina. Variants of concern. I hear that and I always think of rodents of unusual size from The Princess Bride. We will go into the swamp where there will be variants of concern, also rodents of unusual size. This used to be, I'd mentioned on a previous walk about Roca Jack's, which was the first sort of specialty coffee shop we had in Regina and kind of turned me into a coffee drinker. They were downtown, but they kind of lost their appeal. And up to the point I didn't feel comfortable going in there. Then they moved over here to that little place. And at some point they went away entirely, and now it's called Bobby Joe's. Tiny little spot. I've never even gone in there for coffee. I should. It's not like they're far away from home. Okay, we're by the Artesian again. Gallery on the corner there. The other little Traditions is a craft gallery over there. There's a tea shop, paper umbrellas, stationery store, a New Age bookstore, right across from the Christian bookstore. So far, there have been no incidents that I'm aware of. The Oddfellows Hall over there. Used to be the Oddfellows Hall. I performed in there with Prairie Opera years ago. They have something called the Cathedral Village Arts Festival, and they will block off this entire street from right down from the corner, maybe further down here, right? And it's just full of little booths and things. One year with Prairie Opera, we did a opera number, one of the children's operas that we did, and I don't remember what my costume was. I'm sure it was some sort of fuzzy animal or something. And we came out and kind of trolled the crowd to get them to come to our performance. Which one was that? May have been Chanticleer, the rooster. I don't remember what I wore for that, but it very well may have been a chicken outfit. I very well may have made the joke, how do I get out of this chicken outfit if the zipper got stuck? Can't say that for sure, but if it didn't happen, I wish it had. That's a good joke. And there's our new liquor store being built over there, which will be possibly dangerously close to the house, but we're looking forward to having that open for your emergency alcohol needs. All right, we'll just go across the block and then I will end today's walk. Nobody said hi on Facebook, so quite possibly nobody saw this live, but it will be, if you didn't see it live, you're watching it probably on YouTube. So thanks for watching, and I'll go into Safeway over there, buy my hamburger buns. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Bye.